everyone. Welcome. My name is David Testerman with Broker Hunter, and we're excited to have a great firm here today talking about a brand new channel they have, Thrivent Advisor Network. Before I introduce our first speaker, I do want to go over a couple housekeeping items, and we'll get to those first. First of all, we are going to have a Q&A at the end of the formal session. So I do encourage anyone on the call today to please make sure to ask any questions you have right now. You can do so via the Q&A chat pane on the webinar toolkit. Be sure to ask any questions you have. And if for some reason we don't get to those during the Q&A part, a representative will follow up with you and get those questions answered in a timely fashion. Also wanted to let you know that we will give you some very specific instructions on what's the best way to reach out and contact Thrivent Advisor Network should you have an interest in finding out some additional information. And also wanted to let you know that this is going to be recorded. So if for some reason you have to jump off early or you want to watch it again, you're going to have the ability to do so. We'll get that link out to you. Should be by tomorrow sometime. So keep an eye out for that as well. With that being said, I would love to introduce our first featured speaker today. It's Mr. Dan Wanos. Dan is the Business Development Officer with Thrivent Advisor Network. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, David. I am going to go ahead and share my screen here and share a little bit more around who Thrivent Advisor Network is, what we've been up to, and really excited to have all of you joining us today. If you wanted to know about Thrivent Advisor Network, is to really take a step back and know a little bit about Thrivent. You may have heard that name before. We're a over 100-year-old diversified financial services firm. And we've really had a long history of helping advisors, really helping clients integrate their values into the planning process and into their financial decisions. And as we looked out at how we were doing that, we really wanted to launch a hybrid RIA platform to be able to enable high quality experienced advisors to really run their business in a hybrid RIA environment. And be able to do that in partnership with our firm. And so Thrivent Advisor Network is a new platform and a new business for us. We're about a year old, and I'll talk a little bit more around some of the firms that we've brought on in that time and some of the progress we've been able to make. But we really wanted to be able to balance independence that advisors are looking for with the community and the resources that we've been able to establish over the last 100 years. So our purpose is really integral into who we are. So we believe advisors thrive when they make the most of their freedom, their relationships, and their purpose, so they can empower their clients to achieve financial clarity and make the most of all they've been given. And this is really central to who we are. If we were to talk about the characteristics of the advisors that are most commonly talking to us and joining Thrivent Advisor Network, I'd really boil it down to two things. It's advisors that are looking to grow their impact and grow their value of their firm. And those two things are really important. And the impact, I think, is the thing that really differentiates the advisors in the network. Is they're all asking, what are the communities that I'm a part of? What are the communities that my clients care about? And how do we make a deeper difference there? And great planning is a part of that. And there's also some really unique ways that some of our advisors are doing that. The three real cores to who we are is community, freedom, and growth. Again, we have a network of entrepreneurs and advisors that are all independently owning and running their businesses. We'll get to meet one here in a few minutes. We're excited to have one of our advisors here on the call. But it's really the special community of advisors that are focused on growth and are sharing best practices back and forth with each other. Lastly, as we talk about freedom and really an ability to focus, there's an ecosystem of support of really high quality industry partners that we work with. You see a list of a few of them here. and it's many others, but we have deep integrations with these different firms and allow advisor choice as they're deciding, do I want to leverage, for example, Salentica or Redtail as our CRM, or we have different financial planning tools. We have multi-custodial options between Fidelity and Schwab, but we've really tried to curate a high quality list of partners that work really, really well together, and then allow advisors the choice to choose which of these make the most sense for their business. Last slide here before we dive into our conversation. Where are we at right now? We're at a little over $4 billion in assets under management. And as I mentioned, we say all of our best days are ahead of us because we're only about a year old, and we're looking for new partner firms and new relationships. But we have about 21 firms that have joined Thrivent Advisor Network since last September across 15 states. And so that's a good transition into the bulk of our conversation today. I'm joined by Jeremy Kyle. He runs Kyle Wealth Management in the Milwaukee area, one of the Thrivent Advisor Network teams. We are really excited to have Jeremy on, as well as Julie Wilder, Thrivent Advisor Network's head of advisor growth. Really excited to dive in with both of you. So to get kicked off here, Jeremy, why don't you share a little bit about who you are in your business?
Sure thing. Thanks. I've been a financial advisor for 17 years now, and I run a retirement-focused firm. Besides myself, I have one other CFP professional that is an advisor. I have another full-time staff member that helps us with the day-to-day stuff, and another part-time sales associate, we'll call him that, or business development is probably a better, more fancy term. that. But a whole lot of other outsourced marketing and administrative functions that we have helping us out too.
So talk to us a little bit about what your business looked like before you decided to transition to Thrivent Advisor Network, and what some of the roadblocks were that you were trying to accomplish as a part of your move.
Yeah, so I was part of a career network. A lot of the folks on the call might be similar, where we were called a statutory employee, but still you're under the bigger brand of the company. And I just felt like I had a message to get out to the market about retirement focus, about a different way that we were approaching things. And when you're part of a big career network, you can't quite fully tailor how your message comes to market on things. So I'm able to do that now through the different marketing and abilities we have as well. Another piece of it too is that as I was approaching it, I noticed that I had less than 3% of my revenue was coming in from brokerage, from broker-dealer relationship or broker-dealer revenue. So I made the choice to drop that license. That's you could do that or not, but I chose not to have that license. And just kind of before, it's really tough to tell your broker-dealer you don't want to be a registered rep anymore. So being part of a place like Thrivent Advisor Network, where you have the choices on whether or not you want your insurance license or your broker license, or I assume everyone have their investment advisor license, but we get that flexibility of how you want to set up your business.
You talked about wanting to make a bigger investment in marketing. Mm-hmm. I know you've done that, and there's probably still more on the horizon. What has that looked like for you as you've kind of built up your own brand and then decided to go to market with that?
Yeah, the biggest part of it is we started a blog and podcast. So if you go to retirement-revealed.com, you can check out our blog and podcast. Started that a year ago, basically exactly when we joined the Thrivent Advisor Network. Kind of a cool thing happened just a couple of days ago. Somebody from Nebraska reached out to us. We're in Wisconsin, because they are on Google Podcasts. They typed in retirement, and apparently one of my episodes is the number 4 retirement episode in Google Podcasts. And they list out only the top 50 podcasts, not just the episode, but the entire podcast series. And we're in the top 15. So it's just great that we are now getting that exposure. We've had people from California call us, people from Nebraska call us just from that podcast and having the blog and the exposure that way.
So, Julie, I want to ask you a question here as well. We talk about community, freedom, and growth. And as our head of advisor growth, you're really, a lot of that is under your domain. Talk to us about what that's looked like so far, how advisory firms like Jeremy's are able to benefit from that, and then what we hope that that looks like going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's been really exciting as new teams have come on board. Our mission and vision of the platform, again, is this choice and it's this transparency. And so as teams are approaching and coming on board to TAN, as we like to call it, we're able to just look at their business model and how they want to execute their business. And it is less about which technology partner or piece of tool or technology, and it's more about how do you want to execute your business, and then let's build your technology ecosystem around it. And so we have with all of those partners, you can see a ton of opportunity for different iterations, and part of our community is supporting those iterations within the community and within those strategic partners. So we've added, because of the choice, we now have 2 to 3 times the thought leadership coming from the industry to actually support trends and support research and support the due diligence. And it's really pushing us to a place to always want to be leading instead of reacting. And so those two pieces, the trends, the thought leadership, those are really part of that choice, and building our community around that to ensure that, you pick this technology package, you're not on an island. We're going to connect you with the people that are working in that same space. We're going to bring the strategic partners in, and we're going to actually help fortify the use of those tools and the integration. So it's been really exciting to watch all of the different choices be made. I guess it's not you get A or you get A, and so we're finding that we have A through kind of G at this point, and everybody's adjusting and thriving in those spaces.
Jeremy, I'll hop back to you now. As you talked about the things that, you were able to do all sorts of new marketing, initiatives and build a new marketing strategy because you were really able to operate differently as a business. What did that look like in terms of you running your business differently as a part of kind of a statutory employee in a career network versus really running your own firm as a part of a hybrid RIA?
Yeah, well, big part of that is just how I get to set up how I pay my employees and how I set things up. If you're in a career channel type of situation, and you've got especially the broker dealer relationship, you have all these different rules that are on you, either from the government or perhaps from the company to comply with the government, around splitting business, around ownership. There's really no entity to own if you're a registered rep for a broker dealer. But for us, we have our LLC. I'm set up as an S corp, so that helps out tax wise. But then I could later on just decide to sell portions of my business to the people in our office as they earn it. An example I can think of right now is one of my top clients was let go. He was given quite a severance package, corporate type of deal, but he was in financial services for 35 years. He said, "I would just love to work with you. How can we do that?" Well, we were talking before I was part of the Thrivent Advisor Network. We could not quite figure out how could we really structure it the way we wanted to in that environment. And then as soon as we were part of the advisor network, it was really simple to be able to do that. He took his Series 65, so he's got his correct investment advisor licenses. And all he's doing for us is actually business development. So he is bringing in the clients, and we're paying him kind of like a salary plus bonus type of situation that really you can't quite do in kind of a prior environment. So that's a big help. Also, too, I'll just piggyback on what Julie talked about with the technology. Is when I came over a year ago, I was part of Fidelity and Redtail and Orion. And then as they're meeting bigger teams, I know that other teams are coming on with Black Diamond, with Salentica on there. So they're integrating all this for them. And they integrated it all for us as well, too. But they didn't take the one solution that we had a year ago. I was one of the first 3 teams on. and imply that or force that on everyone else. They've just found ways to integrate what people were using or want to use. On the planning software, uh, I'm using Income Solver and Holistiplan. And a lot of advisors might be kind of forced into eMoney or MoneyGap Pro or some of the other ones that are out there, which could work just because it's a general solution for thousands of reps. But for us, we're a retirement focused tax planning firm. Those are retirement focused and tax planning software. We need that, and we could not use that those software in kind of a prior environment. But you can do that. I just ran it by the advisor network team. They did a quick check to make sure that I wasn't throwing all my client information to the wolves, and we were good to go.
Well, I'll throw the pitch out here. We want this to be really conversational, and so if there are questions, I know David teased it at the beginning of the call, but if you have questions, we'll be able to start taking those here in a few minutes. And so go ahead and put those in the chat, and then we can respond to those so that our conversation is meeting the needs of everybody who dialed into the call. Julie, I want to talk. We've run over 20 transitions here in the last 12 months. What has that looked like? What have been some of the lessons learned of firms moving from one destination now to a hybrid RIA? What have been some of the learnings that we've had across that cohort of teams?
Yes, well, the blessing of all of that is we had to really lean on some quality partners, and through that, we're able to trial and error and landed on some really good transition partners. And so, again, with all of the choice comes different transition packages and plans. And so, again, part of the transition is sitting down with the teams and based on technology, custodial choice. Some have chosen a custodian and some have now come on with multi-custodian. And so we will work, we have great teams and great alignment now with Schwab, with Fidelity, and as well as our other partners. And we'll put a customized plan together. We've got a transition team that walks alongside from soup to nuts. And if somebody's breaking away and they need help setting up a DBA and an entity and a brand, a lot of really fun, exciting times as these teams that were under a captive space now can call themselves their own name. They can create their own brand and they can market on LinkedIn or Facebook or blog like Jeremy. I love Jeremy's story. I think it's a great example of things. And so part of that transition is ensuring that we're bringing over teams and preparing them along the way so they're not just cutting and kind of scrambling after they're making this decision. And so it's well thought out, and we have a group of really qualified folks to help lay the plans out.
Awesome. Jeremy, you've talked a little bit about where you've been, some of the shifts that you've made, but you're 1 year in on the platform. What do the years ahead look like, and what are you hoping to be able to accomplish now that you've kind of gotten settled now in this new environment?
Yeah, I just want to keep on growing, helping people in the area with our retirement process that we use. It'd be great to be the kind of number one well-known retirement planning firm in Milwaukee. We've got our sights on who a couple of those folks are, and we're wanting to emulate some of that and go beyond what they're doing, some of that as well too. Just I don't know where everyone's at listening to the call and their situation. But I'll give you just a few things of the last prior few years. I was averaging about 8 million in new assets for coming into our firm. And the last 12 months, we're going to hit 12 million in new assets. Yeah, so that's a big jump. And almost all that has directly to do with some of the things that it all has to do with the marketing I get to do on this side of it, where I get to partner and buy leads from Smart Asset. If you've maybe seen those on your LinkedIn and Facebook coming along. But I've gone beyond that, and we have a solicitation agreement with a firm called IndyFin, and they're getting those leads and they're booking them on my calendar. So we're becoming a lot more efficient. And both of those things were not allowed in a prior, in the career channel prior situation. So it's just a great thing. We're trying to build a marketing flywheel that just keeps on rolling, and that we can keep on getting more people coming in.
Fantastic. David, I want to hop to questions here. Have we seen anything coming in yet through the chat?
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions here actually, and so I guess let's talk a little bit about transition. I've noticed we had a few folks on the call today from wirehouses, and so if you're coming from a wirehouse environment, a lot of this going independent and going to a hybrid is very daunting for them. Can you talk a little bit about what the transition timeline looks like? What a team would need to do if they know they want to be going down this path, but what do they do next? How do you create your own brand? It's very intimidating, which is why a lot of people don't make the leap as soon as they'd like to a lot of times. Can you talk a little bit about like what that would look like for someone? Maybe the timeline, is it a 6-month period? Something
Sure.
Yeah.
And again, we've seen all types of timelines, from kind of a wirehouse breakaway to, an independent RIA that said, we don't want to be our own RIA anymore. We want to have that shared ADV experience. So there's everything in between. But for a wirehouse environment, we will work alongside if somebody's just like, I cannot stay here another minute. Which happens.
Sure.
We have a marketing team. We'll do a consultation. We have resource lists. And so while we may not provide legal advice directly from our firm, we have a list of attorneys that can help set up entities and DBAs and get insurance benefits for your team, payroll, all of those types of things. We actually have a playbook that again, every transition, it's like snowflakes. I live in Minneapolis, and so I'll use it because we just had 7 inches of snow. But every transition is a little different. And so we have a really fluid playbook that we sit down with anything you would need. And as we discover with teams, as they're coming on, we just pull everything over that applies to them and put it in a really nice checklist structure. We have it electronically, you can print it out. And it tracks you through all of those steps that you need to go through. Timelines can vary. So I know that was one part of your question. It's really a comfort level, and it's we're not going to push you to do anything that you're not ready to do, and vice versa. You can absolutely push us to go faster. And so we try to find the happy medium there, and it's really a collaboration to build that plan out.
That's awesome. Do you guys have any resources available, or anybody that you've used for helping a prospective team maybe find some real estate in a given area if they're needing to do that? Okay.
Yeah. So a few things I'll hop in on there. I'll answer the real estate. The short answer is yes. That's one of the big questions. Right. Now, if a team is already independent, that's generally not a problem. Right. But sometimes that's whether it's a team splitting up, or sometimes that's also a factor. The big question that I would, or the big conversation we regularly have with wirehouse teams is around what flavor of independence they're really wanting to look for. And sometimes we'll meet somebody a little bit too early in the conversation, and they'll say, I'm comparing you, but I also might launch my own brand new RIA, and I'm also looking at this independent broker dealer, and I might do that. That's independent too, isn't it? And we kind of say, okay, pause. The first step really before you go down really far with us is understanding what flavor of independence you're really looking for and might make sense. And, the difference between, going to an independent broker dealer and launching your own RIA is pretty vast. And so if you're considering all of those things, it can be really helpful to say, no, I do want to go to an RIA, but I also, I want to be able to get some more support than I would have if I'm all by myself. And so, an example of that, or I guess another common misconception from the wirehouse space could be, well, what do I do with my broker-dealer business? And so
Mhm.
Thrivent Advisor Network isn't a broker-dealer, but we have a great relationship with PKS, which is the largest what's called friendly broker-dealer in the industry. The friendly broker-dealer means that they work really closely with RAs like Thrivent Advisor Network to act as the broker dealer in partnership with Thrivent Advisor Network. And so we have a great relationship with PKS, and our advisors or those that are choosing to use them as a broker dealer are getting a lot of services there as well. And so I think the two things I would touch on there is, one, you don't necessarily have to drop all of your brokerage business.
Right.
That's a piece that can be a part of the transition. And then two, the first question might be understanding the differences between an independent broker dealer, a hybrid RIA, and then a solo RIA all by yourself. And then once you've figured out that, then you can kind of do apples to apples comparison between each of the platforms.
Right. No, that's very good. And usually when we're talking to advisors and they're looking at these types of situations, normally it seems like the sweet spot for somebody to totally go out on their own, start their own RIA is, kind of around $1 billion under management, maybe a little less than that. There's some economies of scale there where they can get some decent pricing and are able to cobble that together. But in most cases, networks like yourself are able to negotiate with the various pieces of the stack and the custodians to get, very advantageous pricing. And it's a lot of times more advantageous for, let's say, somebody in the or a group with maybe 100 million under management up to, or close to 750, something like that. Under management, I think that makes a lot of sense for them to look at a solution like this. We do have a question here. This is a general question, but what mutual fund choices are available? What SMA managers options are available? I saw you guys, you do have InvestNet, but it sounds like you're very flexible in adding some more to the platform as well. Can you talk a little bit about maybe if somebody's using certain funds or managers and they want to keep those, is that an option for them?
Sure. Yeah, I can take this one. So we have InvestNet is listed in our list because they own Yodlee, which is an aggregator. So
Right.
we're actually, our third-party managed model chassis is SmartX. And so on the SmartX platform, you can execute third-party managed models, rep managed models, or there is a full SMA just stable that they do extremely well with their due diligence and have a select approved available, very similar to InvestNet. And so from an SMA standpoint, there are hundreds of choices. Mutual funds, again, assuming you're choosing mutual funds that are part of model management, we have anything under the sun with Schwab and Fidelity. Of course, there's no transaction funds and there are transaction fee funds. So we're clear on what those lists are and help folks if they need any kind of guidance with what's in the best interest of the client, what's approved, what's not approved. So it's a really wide range of investment solutions without getting into a list of hundreds of mutual funds. So Peter, if you have specific questions, feel free to reach out and we can walk through, the SMA and mutual fund setup.
Yeah. Typically, it sounds like when you're using all of those various components, it's going to be about everything that is out there. And if it's not on the stack, then that's certainly something that somebody could ask, and it might be added if it makes sense. So, well, very good. Let's flip side here. We talked a little bit and touched upon the custodial arrangement with Schwab and Fidelity. We'll talk a little bit about your other tech stack. I see you have Redtail. You have another CRM out there. Is that, I guess, is that offered as an option for someone to add on a la carte under their affiliation? is that an additional technology fee? I know those vary, but I guess tell us a little bit about how you offer these a la carte options out to advisors joining the platform.
Sure, I can a little bit to that. So, one part of scale, you mentioned scale earlier, David. One part of scale is we're able to, take our scale and negotiate pricing with our strategic partners. And so from a Redtail CRM perspective to a Salentica CRM perspective, that cost, whatever we're paying with or have come to agreement with our partner, is getting passed directly to our advisors. So part of the technology stack value proposition is that transparency is there, and all of that cost is getting just passed through. We're not taking a spread on technology seats. And so again, from an independent space, we have Redtail, which is kind of the number one independent RIA CRM. And we also added Salentica, which is powered by Salesforce, but has a wealth management financial services overlay, which is kind of what makes it Salentica. So if you're used to a lot more workflow and bigger teams and bigger structure, and you need a little bit larger engine, Salentica is there. If Redtail is still appropriate for larger teams, but it's just a little more fluid and quick, and it's that independent space. And so between the two, we found that we're kind of hitting all of the spaces in that CRM. And similarly, as you look at our wealth management overlays, Black Diamond and Orion are very similar in their functions, but there's nuances on how they work. And again, part of that discovery as we talk to teams is how do you work? What does a day in the life look like? What are pain points? What would you love to fix? How? And then we're going to look at the stack and say, ooh, we've got something that actually will fill that gap quite nicely, or help you enhance something there. So that's a little bit about the tech stack.
Okay. Here's another question. This is a good one. It's actually a great question. What's the relationship between the traditional Thrivent Financial that we all know and Thrivent Advisor Network?
So I can take this one. It's funny that you say Thrivent Financial that we all know, because depending on where you live, you may or may not know.
If you're in
Thrivent
Minneapolis,
Financial
you know it.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
If you're in Thrivent's backyard, you certainly know Thrivent.
Sure.
It's a great question. The way I would answer it, first thing, we're a wholly owned. Thrivent is our parent and our owner, and the values and the mission that exist at Thrivent are certainly present within Thrivent Advisor Network. At the same time, for those that know more about Thrivent, it's historically, it's more than this, but the core and the bread and butter has been as a largely insurance broker-dealer. And so one of the first questions, it's not surprising at all that we got this year, one of the first questions that we get are there proprietary sales quotas? And I think that might be what's the question that's just beneath this one, but are there proprietary sales quotas for Thrivent product? And the answer there is no. And so this business is a wealth management business. It is a planning business. And the mission that we share with Thrivent and a desire to help more people achieve financial clarity is certainly true here. And so we know that as we're working with and partnering with more experienced advisors who choose to join the Thrivent Advisor Network, that we'll be accomplishing those goals. But it's a different model for advisors that are looking for a different type of support from their firm.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
I'll talk about it too, if that's right, because I'm
Please.
living it. And I'm thinking of two parts of it. Is that Dan's right on. There's zero sales pressure. There's zero quotas requirements in any way on there. But on the investment side, Thrivent's got a team of 100 plus investment professionals, and they've been managing discretionary funds for 12 or 15 years now. And so I get access to a lot of their research, along with I use Fidelity as a custodian. So I get to access a lot of their research, a lot of Fidelity's research, and that's pretty valuable because I'm not I'm not paying for it, right? It's coming on in from just a relationship with Thrivent, relationship with Fidelity. So that's great on the investment side, but there's zero requirements to have Thrivent or Fidelity as part of the models that I manage. That's none of that at all. On the insurance side is that if you've heard of Thrivent Financial, you understand that there's a Christian faith background there, and that might be an important piece of why you're looking at Thrivent Advisor Network, but it also might be an important piece of why some clients are coming to us. So I'm in Milwaukee area. Everyone around here's heard of Thrivent. I'm getting clients from people calling in looking for Thrivent. And if they are really looking for the Thrivent Financial big company, we send them on their way. But if they're looking for investment advice from somebody that's connected to Thrivent, well, we've probably had about 3 clients come that way just because they were looking for Thrivent. They weren't looking for us. So that's a bit of a boost. At the same time, on the insurance broker dealer stuff that Dan talked about, if somebody does come to us and they are expressing a faith component to their view of finances, then when I quote them insurance, I'll call 2 of my insurance brokers and get quotes from them. And I'll also call Thrivent and get quotes from them and just present it to them. And whichever one they want to go with, which is usually the cheaper one they want to go with on there. But I just include them in the mix. Just that's my own personal choice. If I feel like the client might find a benefit in that, and if they don't necessarily seem to have that tilt, then I don't bother including them in the mix. I get a quote, by the way, just to see if they're cheaper, because sometimes their term insurance, their disability insurance is some of the best that's out there. But there's no requirements at all.
Very good. Thanks. And I guess, this kind of, again, I think we touched upon this a minute ago, Julie, but just the actual, there's the process of thinking about going independent, but let's talk about what the transition looks like, especially for those that have maybe not done it in a while, maybe at a wirehouse. Once you say, yes, we want to join Thrivent Advisor Network, what does the transition look like? Do you have a transition team? What kind of time frame can they expect to move their business over to Thrivent Advisor Network?
Got it. Yeah. And again, it's really going to be part of collaborative discovery. And depending on if they own their data or they don't own their data, there's broker protocol or non-protocol. And so really kind of set up to manage everything from, we can help pre-populate and prepare paperwork if there's a data share opportunity, if advisors own their own data, all the way through to, we have resources that can come on site if somebody's doing that. I'm resigning Friday under the cover of night, and so we've kind of managed both of those scenarios. And again, really, transition is about discretion as well. And so we're really careful with teams that we're speaking to, and our team, our staff, everybody is very aware of discretion and sensitivity to this industry. And we want to be really careful with the teams that we're speaking to. So it's really driven by their timelines and their communication, green lights, and all of that good stuff. And again, I can't say customized enough, but it's not it's not a plug and play. It's a very organic discovery, just to make sure the plan is right for the team coming over.
Gotcha. So, and that maybe is one takeaway that I think a lot of advisors on the call, if they're kind of considering some other options, is, again, there's different solutions out there, but some of the very largest independent broker dealers obviously have 10,000 advisors, 15,000 advisors. It's oftentimes you can get lost a little bit in the shuffle, and things are a little more plug and play just because they have to be with somebody of that size. You all are new enough, small enough within a large organization to be able to be nimble with them, but have all of those resources to be able to kind of customize a transition solution for them, it sounds like. Yeah. Well, good. Well, I think we're kind of out of questions at the moment. you guys want to impart any parting thoughts here for us, Dan or Julie, before we wrap things up?
I am happy to. Number one, I'm sure nobody is terribly upset to get an extra 20 minutes back in their day. But we hope that there was a nugget or two that you took out of this conversation that was valuable for you. We would love to meet and have a conversation. As Julie mentioned with her snowflake comment, every firm is different. If you've met, 1,000 advisors, you've met 1,000 advisors, or if you've met one, you've met one, because every advisor is different and every firm is different. And so we'd love to have a conversation, get to meet you and understand what you're looking for. So with that, I'm going to reshare my screen with a little bit of contact info for where you can find our website or reach out to our team. But thank you everyone for joining the call.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And yeah, go ahead and share your screen, Dan, while we're waiting there. Do want to encourage everyone to check out the Thrivent Advisor Network website. A lot of great information there. That'll give you a good overview. And as well, there's an email right here that if you have any questions as well. This webinar has been recorded. Again, we're going to send you all out a link. Be tomorrow by the time we get it processed, but we'll get that out to you, as well as some specific next steps should you have any questions. Again, feel free to email Dan, myself. We'll include all of that contact information if you do have any questions at all. So that concludes today's webinar. I'd like to thank the Thrivent Advisor Network team. You did a wonderful job, and exciting days ahead for everyone, and appreciate everybody that was taking their time out of their day on the call today, and hope everybody has a great rest of the week. For more information, please go to www.brokerhunter.com and search for thousands of financial services jobs and upcoming career events.